Welcome to Contemplation, a program that analyzes issues from the social and religious perspective. On today's edition of the program, we look at the effects of alcohol consumption in Ghana, both from the social and religious point of view. To my immediate left, the Amir and missionary in charge of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission in Ghana, Maulvi Dr. Abdul Wahab Adam. Maulvi, you welcome to the program. And then also I have Dr. Sadar Hamid Ahmed, who is a medical doctor. He is formerly of the Sokore Ahmadiyya Hospital years back. Doc, you welcome. Right. So let's begin with you, Doc, and look at the issue of alcohol consumption in Ghana. Let me read something from the papers about the situation in Ghana at the moment. Ghana has been listed among countries where alcohol consumption is high. The report carried by a website, Medical News Today, says mostly the alcohol consumption or consumed is illicit. So let's look at that. It is illicit. But I want you to tell us the effects of alcohol consumption before we delve into the broader issues.
Yes, alcohol consumption and its abuse is widespread. It is global in nature and particularly affecting the younger age group, and that incidence is rising. This is a great concern to various governments, and they have been implementing various policies to stop them from drinking. But unfortunately, once something gets into the field of culture, it becomes very difficult to curtail them. However, a program of education from early age is perhaps the best way to achieve it. I have some facts and figures which I can produce to say whether this is a problem or not.
Yeah, you go ahead.
These figures are taken from Royal College of Physicians, who published the figures and state that 13 children a day are hospitalized as a result of alcohol misuse alone. Alcohol liver cirrhosis has increased 95% since the year 2001. Overall, alcohol-related deaths increased by 18% from 2002 to 2005, and more people die from alcohol-related causes than from breast cancer, cervical cancer, other things. And treating alcohol-related condition cost the National Health Services in UK £2.7 billion in 2006 and 7, and the incidence of road traffic accidents, suicides, child abuse, antisocial behavior is spiraling. These are the facts and figures which support that it is a definite issue, and nobody seems to come to grapple with it.
Right, the global, doctor, the global picture is frightening, but I would want us to situate the discussion within the ambit of what is taking place in Ghana. You have been a medical doctor at Asokore in the Ashanti region. You were there for so many years. Now, what could be responsible, or let me put it this way, why do people resort to alcohol in the first place?
Well, as you know, anything which tastes better, anything which makes you feel at ease, anything which is socially you feel better, people go for it. The question to consider is how far you're going to permit yourself. And this is where adults lay the example for the young children, youth to take up. In a small study in Ghana outside Accra, they found that 60% of families, they drink alcohol, 60%, which is quite significant. The good thing is that those among the young people who are victim to that, they are more than 25 years of age, unlike the Western world where it is much early. So there is this is a good point, but they fall into this error because of only a role model set by seniors, and that's where the children go. What should we do when you have a children's party? This is what they pick up this information. But if there's enough education at all levels, from church, mosque, schools, this can be curtailed.
Yeah, Doc, back to you. You made a very interesting point, but we all know from what you've just said that the situation in Ghana is not the best. But you said that something that looks better for people take alcohol because it looks better for them. But I have made a personal observation. When I don't take alcohol, but where I see people, at times when they drink, they feel bitter, that they squeeze their face. So what is special about it?
Well, alcohol itself, when you are starting drinking alcohol, They all tell us it doesn't taste good. But the effect of it, that is very sweet, according to them. It doesn't happen overnight. With a little bit of practice, they begin to see that it is very, very good effect. They fly high in the sky, and they are very open, and they are very easily to talk and laugh and communicate. But this phase is immediately followed by a phase of depression. These people don't forget about this one. It's temporary, transient period of excitement followed by a depression. And if this continues, eventually it becomes a medical condition of chronic anxiety and depression, leading to various kinds of mental anxieties and illnesses.
Right. Amisab, let's come to you. Perhaps let's take look at the religious perspective to this issue of alcohol consumption. You heard the statistics, not the best, in Ghana. You are a religious leader. The Quran, we are told, prohibits alcohol. But others try to find ways of quoting from the same source, the Holy Quran, to tell us that you can take some alcohol. After all, there is alcohol in food. What do you have to say to this?
Yes, you know, Dr. Sada Hamid Ahmed had made a point that when something becomes cultural, then it becomes a bit dicey, difficult to deal with it. And you see, in Ghana, on almost all occasions, if a person delivers a child, on that occasion there is celebration. When there is a naming ceremony, that's also something to celebrate. When one reaches the age of majority, that occasion too is celebrated. When one is engaged in marriage, that's an occasion to celebrate. When one actually gets, married, the wedding, that is also an occasion for celebration. When a person dies, again, it is celebrated. On all these occasions, alcohol is used. On all of them. And so, when you call it a cultural practice, it becomes something which is so embedded in the minds and hearts of the people of the society that is very difficult to divest yourself from it. That's actually what is happening. Now, the Holy Quran has come to the world to relieve us of the shackles as well as the chains that we ourselves have put on our necks and therefore are not able even to move properly. And one of them, of course, is alcohol abuse. The truth is, the Holy Quran, having come from the Almighty, recognizes the fact that there are certain uses of alcohol. For instance, right now, we know that alcohol is used even to drive cars. It happens in Brazil. But we are now talking of alcohol abuse, not the other uses. So what the Quran tells us is, they ask you about alcohol and game of chance. Now, he says, يَسَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمَرِ وَالْمَيْسَرِ. God is saying that they ask you, the Prophet, about alcohol as well as game of chance. قُلْ, tell them, فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ. In both of them is great sin. وَمَنَافِعٌ لِلنَّاسِ. And there is some small benefit for man. وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. But know for certain that the sin and the harm of both of them is much, much more than the benefit. So you see, unlike other people who just exaggerate, this is coming from God. He created the sort of things with which alcohol is made. He recognizes the fact that there are certain benefits. It's used to preserve medicine. It's used to do certain other things. But when it comes to abuse of it, drinking, then he says that it's a very great sin, and the sin is much, much greater than any advantage that we can think of.
Let's once again look at the semantics of what you just quoted. You said Allah Almighty in His infinite wisdom says that there is a little benefit, but I think the dangers exceed the benefits. Could this not be a reason why people would want to interpret it wrongly. For instance, what we are trying to say means that the benefits are in the form of using alcohol for other productive purposes, but people are interpreting it wrongly. What isn't it your responsibility?
No, but that is not the only verse in the Holy Quran that deals with alcohol. God talks about the enmity that it creates between people. God talks about forgetfulness of responsibility to worship and worship properly. All those things are there. And because of that, God says you must keep away from it. I remember Sir Muhammad Zafrullah Khan, who later became the president of the International Court of Justice. He said he was talking to a Muslim, and when the matter of alcohol came up, he said, but it's not haram, it's not written anywhere.
On this, we want you to explain the meaning of haram for the benefit of
haram means something which is prohibited. So Zafrullah Khan quoted the verse from the Holy Quran, which says that it creates enmity between people. And then it makes you forget your responsibility about worship. فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ. And so are you going to keep away from it? Now this is an emphatic order, prohibition by the Almighty to Muslims and to everybody who believes in the Holy Quran, that you should keep away from it. He said, but God said, are you going to keep away from it? We say no. Imagine, that is rather too rude to say. If God says this, He's saying that because of this, it is not good. So will you keep away from it? You should not interpret it to mean that if you wish, keep away. If you don't wish, go ahead. That's not the interpretation. Besides, we are meant to follow the example of the Holy Prophet of Islam, on whom be peace and blessings of Allah. God says that he is the best exemplar, Uswatul Hasana. How did he interpret these things? He said that anything, any amount of alcohol, anything that would make you drunk, and therefore, make you forget your responsibilities towards worship. Whether it is in large quantities or small quantities, keep away from it. That was the practice of the Prophet. And when these things were revealed, these verses were revealed in the Holy Quran, it's mentioned in the traditions that the announcement got made, and as a result, the Arabs used to consume a lot of alcohol. They had different names for alcohol that is taken in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, in the night. But then, when the announcement was made, it is said that they broke the jars that contained alcohol, so much so that alcohol was floating in the streets of Medina.
Right. Maybe we will come back on that. But we are told we have a caller, Dr. Alhaji Muhammad Ibn Ibrahim, on the line from Ghana to share his thoughts on the issue. Doc, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Doc, let me ask you this question. You are a medical doctor. The argument has been that that is for proponents of alcohol use. That after all, let's take some alcohol. We don't even know what goes on inside. But you realize that I don't have a practical experience. But the moment they gulp the alcohol, the attitudes change. The effect is so glaring that people, some of them start misbehaving and causing trouble. What actually goes on in the stomach when the alcohol is taken to necessitate that quick shift in attitude?
Thank you very much. Alcohol has a tendency of marring the sensorial through creation of certain elements in the body. Now, what alcohol does actually is to have an adverse effect from the baby unborn, which we call the fetus, right up to death, if it is taken in a certain amount. Now, if a woman who is pregnant takes alcohol or becomes alcoholic, there is a condition known as the fetal alcohol syndrome, where the baby yet unborn suffers very serious problems with all parts of the body, including the heart, the brain, even before it is delivered. And when it is delivered, it affects the child throughout life. Would you?
Right. Doc, we would come back to you, but these are frightening statistics that you are giving out there. We definitely would come back to you. So Doc, let me come back to you again. Now, one thorny issue has been the fact that people who should know better, including doctors, who know the dangerous effect of alcohol because they have the opportunity of operating patients, they know the dangers in there, also take alcohol. Even, let me say gulp alcohol. What could be wrong with such people?
Well, I know when I was transferred from Kano to Nigeria, there were 2 professors who fell victim to excessive drinking, and eventually they developed cancer of the liver and they died. They are human beings too. They are part of this culture, and therefore they also partake, not knowing that they have got this genetic factor among them which will push them towards excessive area. This business of taking a small amount, those who became chronic alcoholic, they started with small amount. So that's no bar that they will know that I can take a small amount. But I think we should really measure the effect of alcohol not just on medical, but the social makeup is breaking down. In the entire Western world, it is now acknowledged that society is crumbling down, marital institution is crumbling down because of the effect of alcohol, and senior police officers are also heard quite frequently. They say, if only alcohol can be taken away, our job will be easy.
Right, that's interesting. But before I miss up comes in, Dr. Mohammed Ibrahim talked about the fact that when women who are pregnant take alcohol, it affects the babies. How does it affect the babies when these babies are born?
Yes, anything. I think in the most of the world now knows that when you're pregnant, you must take precaution of ordinary painkillers, aspirin, paracetamol. They are aware of this. Most of them, even smoking, they don't do this. It's not an issue anymore now. They take good care of this one. So that's well understood. But I want to make one point here. How was the smoking cigarette controlled here? Education. Government made laws. You can't smoke in the offices. You can't smoke on the premises, even in your houses. These laws were made. So result was gradually, now smoking has become very individual. They can't smoke in buses, public transport. So I think these laws, legislation is a great help. But again, I think it's from childhood, in the home. It's the parents. It's there where you are actually grow this seed, the precautionary measures, which will help. But again, I'm sorry, if it's in the culture, society, they will go to universities and colleges, they fall trap to social celebrations, and they're back to the same trap again.
Right. Amsa, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I want to say that I fully agree with Dr. Sardar Hamid Ahmed that education is important, and also enactment of laws. You know that in America, for instance, they enacted some laws about alcohol abuse. Well, they couldn't sustain it. But at least I know that in the United States of America, you can't advertise about any alcoholic beverage when you have a glass full of alcohol being gulped down in your mouth, like it happens in Ghana. In Ghana, you have advertisements about certain alcoholic beverages, and you see somebody really drinking it. It's part of the advertisement. Sometimes it's done by girls, sometimes it's done by ladies, older ladies, sometimes it's done by men, sometimes it's done by university professors and so on. Those things are adverts that they use to entrap people to buy alcohol. Their interest is the profit, the money that they get out of it. But as it has been very, very clearly established, the society that is crumbling is not what they are thinking about. If marriages are breaking down, because the person drinks alcohol, comes home, fights with the wife, and then there is commotion in the house, children are watching it, they also learn it, they go out and drink, they also start fighting among themselves. Then those people who want to do wrong things, supposing somebody is very, very respectable, they want to do something against him, they will go and drink. And once the mental level of a human being that has been endowed him by the Almighty, which distinguishes him from the other creatures, is now suppressed, he's or she is free to do whatever he or she pleases. So that is how come people go out and do certain things that they would normally not do if they were not to have drunk. The same thing applies to accidents. I mean, a person is driving, we always talk about don't drink and drive, which means that they know that if you drink and drive, you will not be able to drive through to your destination. That happens. As a result, a lot of people die. Look at the number of people who are literally slaughtered in the streets of Ghana. It's all because of alcohol abuse. Then you have litigation. You go and do something which is wrong. You would never do it in normal circumstances. Then there is litigation. You are taken to court. These things happen. Then there are issues about people who are given alcohol to drink. And as a result, they ask them to go into the streets and then cause mayhem. It happens in so many situations. So these are the social issues we have to look at. We are not thinking about those people who want to make profit by selling and advertising alcohol.
Right. Doc, let me come back to you. Doctors, the argument has been that, after all, doctors say there should be a certain amount of alcohol in the human body. So let me take something small, because doctors have recommended that. How do we address this issue? If a doctor should tell a patient, at least you need some alcohol. I don't know how you do it, whether you test and you find out that the alcohol levels are low, so you advise certain people to take some alcohol.
No, there is no such advice as such. Occasionally, you do read in papers that half a glass of French wine is helpful for the cardiac patients. But that has been contradicted by research in the United States of America. Okay, this is just hearsay. There is no scientific figures to prove that. So no doctor ever advises to choose alcohol. Stomach ulcer, heart condition, they all know this. They all have been taught. He cannot contradict himself on the one hand, the effects of child alcohol abuse, and then he can say there is no such condition in any circumstances that permits the use of any kind of alcohol for human health.
Right. Ms. Abba, I once talked to a brother who used to drink, and then he told me, when I take it doesn't destabilize me. It rather stabilizes me. It doesn't. And I'm able to do whatever. I can pray 5 times a day. And
he's a Muslim.
He's a Muslim, unfortunately. And so that has been the argument, not only exclusively to Muslims, but to Christians and other people of religious faith as well. I can do whatever I want to.
What that man says contradicts what Allah himself has said. And I don't think that anything that contradicts what Allah has said should be upheld. The reason is God himself says that if you drink, it is going to create enmity between you and people, one. If you drink, it's going to make you neglect your duty of worship to the Almighty. If this is what God says, then either the man is deluded or it is not the truth.
Right, so let's look at, once again, at the Islamic response to alcohol.
Islamic responses, you see, the thing about the religion of Islam is that it was originally preached to people who did all kinds of things. And the fact that it completely transformed them, so much so that they became the leaders of the world, that is the beauty of faith in the Almighty. Because these people were drinking so many times a day. And they cherished that. It's like the culture that we are talking about. On every occasion, they had something else to drink. And yet, when faith of the Almighty went into their hearts, and then Allah declared that you are not to drink anymore, they themselves broke the jars that contained alcohol. That was a declaration that what God says is what they are going to act upon. And so, with their own hands, they broke those jars. And that is how alcohol was done away in Islam. Others can't do it because their faith is weak. They don't have that full faith that was developed in the companions of the Prophet of Islam.
Right. Now, you are a medical doctor. Perhaps you could, it's rather unfortunate we don't have any pictorial image for you to take us through, maybe the lungs and how the body is destroyed by alcohol. But you could still educate viewers. What are some of the dangers? What happens if you persistently take in alcohol, persistently or not persistently? What are the dangers that it causes to the human body?
You see, human physiology is based on laws of nature, the laws of physiology. There are certain critical moments in which the enzymes in every part of the body, they are operating. Alcohol has the effect of slowing down the activity of those enzymes and exciting others beyond a certain limit. As a result, the entire equilibrium of the system in the body is disturbed. So gradually, over a period of time, the whole thing goes in a different direction and becomes cancer, which is a well-known fact among those people who have got especially low nutrition, low socioeconomic order. And this is the main thing. The second point I just wanted to add here is every activity that man engages in life should be related to the purpose of life. He must be invited to consider what is the purpose of his life. If the purpose is to know, love and worship his maker, then I'm afraid alcohol is number one on the list, which will stop you from performing those functions.
Right. So just to add a little for workers also who say, let me take it so that I can work effectively. If I don't take it, I can't work. What advice do you have for such people?
Remember one thing, whenever you are at the initial stage of alcohol take, yes, it excites you, makes you very active, and you seem to experience a very elated state of mind to be able to perform well. But as I said, immediately following that, a state of depression comes, and at work you are not able to perform well, and your employer note these things, and you are asked to take leave, and you lose so many working hours, and it's a great loss to economy.
Yeah, I wish we had more time to continue. But so, Mr. Abem, I want you to give viewers a general advice, both Muslims, Christians, and people of other faiths, on alcohol usage.
The thing is, if you look at a human being, he is the best of creation. He can rise even above the angels. That is what the Quran tells us. But it is because of the will that God has given to a human being. An angel hasn't got a will of his own. He does only what Allah commands him to do. Now that will has to be exercised through the equilibrium, the balance that man has. And now if you take alcohol and that is disturbed, then you are no longer the best of creation. You become one of the ordinary ones.
Right.
And you will not be able to perform.
We would want to thank you very much, Amir. But that's all time will allow us on this week's edition of the program. We'll be with you same time next week. We've been discussing alcohol abuse in Ghana and the effects it has on the society in general. So till we meet same time next week, may the Almighty Allah be with us all.